If you're ready for freedom from the grind, then passive income from real estate investing is the best way to get you there. If you don't know where to start or what to do next, then the Rent Roll Radio Show is the best place to get you there. Join us while we discuss the best practices, strategies, and mindset you'll need and give you actionable content to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Hey, Rent Roll Radio listeners, welcome back to the show. As always, I'm your host, Sterling Chapman. Today, we are joined by Lenore Mohr with Pure Light Reinvest. Lenore, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sterling. I got to say, first of all, your name is killer. Sterling Chapman. Come on. That's a $1 billion name right there.
Thank you. My mama gave it to me. It's so funny. I didn't like it when I was a kid. I didn't like the Sterling portion, right? Because it's different. And so when we would start, like on the first day of school in elementary school, I would tell everybody my name was Ryan, like, because it's my middle name. And then the teacher would call roll and she's like, Sterling. And I'm like, but I grew into it. As an adult, I do like it. So
I love it.
Lenore, can you tell us a little bit about your background, what you were doing before, how you got into real estate investing, what you're doing today?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So it's been an interesting career. I have a lot of cocktail party fodder over my career that I've had. Just kind of interesting with the movie business. I started out in the movie business in Hollywood, television, and then film. And then I transitioned into the internet as the executive producer of Hollywood.com. And that took me on a whole nother journey of digital. And so I started combining my digital and my film background. Went into Stan Lee. I worked for Stan Lee, the comic book magnate Stan Lee.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I ran his production division over there for his internet-based company, and then went from there into advertising and set up a digital and broadcast division for OIC out in Los Angeles. So it was a varied background that when I was in LA, I got pregnant. Wasn't my plan, but I got pregnant, and that pregnancy, I was like, I have to find a house. So I found this house that was just crazy. My friend's like, not this house. I was 7 months pregnant. I was, by myself. And I said, no, this is my house. And you turn on the water in the kitchen and it shot out the back of the house. I mean, it was like the windows. It was just this crazy house. I was like, I see it. I see this vision. I had never renovated a house before. So I was like, okay, I can do this. So I hired a couple crews and I renovated the entire house and I had it ready in time. And that's kind of started my love for real estate, understanding real estate, how to look at a property, how to redesign it, how to lay it out with the woman's point of view. You're in a kitchen, you take something out of the refrigerator, you put it here on the counter, here's your stove, creating that triangle and really just walking a property. And so I moved back east to raise my daughter, and I was still doing marketing and branding, worked for United Way for a while to be a servant in the community. But really, I got back into real estate investing about 6-7 years ago, starting to renovate houses. And I applied what I had learned in that time frame. And it was amazing, right? To be able to walk into a house that was just homeless people were living there. I had one with 2 homeless people and 2 squirrels. The squirrels were harder to get rid of than the homeless people. But those are the kind of houses. There were these big, beautiful houses with stained glass windows and leaded windows.
That was probably not the case in Los Angeles, though.
Actually, in Los Angeles, no, it's a little bit different. But yeah, that's when I moved back east, I found these grand houses that could be restored to their beauty and started raising market values and understanding how the real estate market worked and made a lot of mistakes, right? I had 4 going at one time. I had 2 in New Jersey, 2 in Pennsylvania. So I'm in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania right now. And so it's like a corridor with New York City and Philly and the Poconos. And so it's a good location. So I started figuring this out and lost a bunch of money out in New Jersey from this contractor. My friend's like, just fire him and take it over. I was like, what? There's 14 subs. We had bought a little ranch, popped the top off the ranch. So we're building it into a 2-story colonial. So there's 14 subs of new construction going on. And I took it over. I learned a lot. I learned how to run those subs. I learned how to look at a house from a very different perspective, from a construction standpoint. And that's how I sort of deepened my knowledge in the construction space and renovating homes and what to look for, how to design it. Because the woman buys the house. I mean, come on. She stands in that kitchen. She's like the final say. If there's a husband and wife, he's going to turn to her and say, well, and she's going to say, I love this.
Kitchens and master baths.
Kitchens and master bathrooms. So that's what I really focused on. But what happened was when I lost all that money from firing those two contractors and then lost money over here while I was in a different state, I said, what am I going to do? And so laying in bed for 2 days with the covers over my head, that didn't do anything. So I was like, okay. And I was like, get up. I was channeling Tony Robbins, stand up. Got it. Take control of your life. And so I was like, what do you need? And I'm like, I want a deeper education. I want a deeper understanding, and I want another income source. So I became a realtor to really deepen that educational experience for myself and to understand the market and how to price a property and how to position it for a sale. And as soon as I became a realtor, all these realtors came to me and said, can you teach me how to be an investor? I was like, what? It's just interesting because I realized, somebody will say to me, are you a residential realtor? Nope. Are you a commercial realtor? No. I've done both transactions, right? I've done commercial transactions, residential transactions, but what I realized is I'm in the middle. I call myself the original investment realtor. So I focus on investors and investment properties because I know it, right? And I'm passionate about it and I love it. So,
I have some questions.
Yes.
So great story, by the way. You must know some of my other recent guests, I assume. Do you know Tamar? She was from LA in the movie industry before she got into real estate. And I think Mandy referred both of y'all to me. So I assume that.
Mandy McAllister, love her. These are so I'm a GoBundance tribe member. These are my tribe.
Same. Yeah. And then the other one is Anna Lee.
She's in my pod. Yeah,
I knew that. I figured because you said where you lived. So
yeah,
the buzzwords were going off, and I started connecting the dots. Mandy actually convinced me to join GoBundance a long time ago. I was on the fence about it, and we were at some conference, and she gave me like a 30-minute chastisement about why have you been putting it off? You need to go do it, like she does. And then I went and joined a couple of weeks ago. So. A couple of weeks later, so it's been several months now. But that.
Are you happy with that decision? Joining GoBundance?
I am. I am. If anything, I feel guilty that I have not been able or willing, I guess, to give it the amount of time and attention that it deserves. I'm going on a 5-day conference in Dallas. At the end of October, and I'm really looking forward to. I've met with my local group a handful of times, and of course, we're the guys that I've met in that group. I talk to all the time and get great advice from them, and get great ideas from them and stuff. My GoPod never took off. I get the other guys just stopped kind of showing up to it, and then I haven't been as proactive as I probably should been about getting involved as more than, what I mean? It seems like there's a lot of events that I haven't taken place in just because of my schedule when I signed up. But I am really excited about going to my first conference at the end of October. And I mean, the guys that I've met in the group have been, just top caliber.
So I mean, for me, it's about the tribe, right? I mean, I've watched all of our pod, the women in our pod, there's 9 of us. Everybody has grown exponentially in the last 12 to 18 months, unbelievably, by having that support system. It's like something I really prayed about and really looked for that group of people to up level, not only my personal life, but my professional life. So it's been amazing. Just what we share and the information that we have, everything's been up leveled because of GoBundance. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So going back to your being a investor friendly real estate agent. What I found when I started investing is that rightfully so, and most realtors weren't particularly excited to work with me because when I started, I just wanted to put in,
100 lowball offers and like to maybe get 3 accepted. And it was just like, and it was at the end of the day, even when it was accepted, it was a $60,000 house, versus, going and selling, you being as a realtor, going and listing a $2 million house and getting a nice commission on it, showing it to a few nice folks. And here I am rummaging through lower income areas, just filling out paperwork after paperwork to put in all these lowball offers. And it was almost like they weren't really interested in working with me. Now, I know it's evolved since then, and I have a realtor that I work with to sell all of my flips, and he's more like a partner than a realtor. And he goes through and inspects my guys' work, and he brings in, people that are doing the landscape and the pictures. He definitely earns his money and is a valuable member of my team. But I'm just curious about kind of like what your experience with being the realtor to the investor has been, because I've seen positive relationships, and I've also seen it to where like I really don't want to work with that type of investor.
Yeah.
Deal.
So it's a great question. It's an evolution. So the way that I train any realtor that's coming on my team, or anybody that I think I told you I have a course that I'm creating, is you start out maybe with a realtor who's just newer, right? Because you're newer into the space as an investment realtor, or you're pretty seasoned, but you know that if you spend some time with a handful of people, as opposed to lead generating every day for expires and what's going on, where you're just constantly meeting new people and bringing new people into your database, when you work with investors, you find those great couple of people and you really educate them, they educate you. I learn things from my investors all the time, but it's a growth model. So I have many of my investors started with me. I'm educating them on how to place an offer, right? Because I want to have my offer to close rate be super small. So I'm saying, okay, we did it your way, that way last time. Let's run the numbers, because my big saying is, if the numbers work, buy it. I say that to everybody over and over again, because if the numbers work today, they're going to work exceptionally well in 5 years and 10 years, right? So we know that scalable growth. So I'm willing to work with a newer investor because I can educate them on how to protect themselves with the numbers, what to look for, knowing that value of that property is going to be going up. Somebody's going to be paying down your mortgage, right? You can refinance, pull money out, get a lower interest rate. Right now we're going higher, but it's going to go low again. So there's all these strategies that I can help my investor really work on so that they can grow, because they're going to take those couple little ones, they're going to sell them or keep them, buy bigger ones. And they're going to sell that one, and I'm going to handle that. And I'm really going to help them build a long-term sustainable wealth model through real estate investing. And that's where my heart gets pumping, right? That's where it's so fun.
Awesome. So, and for on the subject of spending time with that, those few investors. I mean, my realtor has, he's been on the buy side of, 10 houses with me, and on the sell side of 20. And so like most people don't buy and sell that many houses in 3 lifetimes, you know what I mean? And I did it, and we've done that in the last 2 or 3 years. So it's, from a realtor standpoint, like that relationship is a way more valuable investment than the guy over here is gonna, buy and sell a house every 10 years.
That's exactly my point. That's why I became and that's why I created this area for myself as an investment realtor, because the residential realtor, it doesn't sing to my soul. I mean, I love helping people and finding like their dream home. But when it comes to really something that I wake up and get excited about, it's about that. It's about helping somebody like you buy and sell and really have a plan. So part of what I teach is how to build that investment plan, and then hold you accountable to it, right? And say, okay, Sterling, you want to buy 5 properties this year. Let's make it 10. I always double it. And they're like, but I don't know. I'm like, let's talk about those strategies. Let's look at different ways to finance. Let's look at different ways that you can make offers. Let's look at how do we leverage those resources that you already have and turn them into something better. Like, that's exciting. But what I really love also is to help that realtor, because realtors don't have a plan for investments usually. So I want to help them set up their own legacy also. So I think there's a way to do that. And so I listen very closely to my investors, because not only am I educating them, but they'll say something. I'm like, that's a great idea. Never thought of that. Right. So I'm also elevating my portfolio, and I own rental properties also. So I'm elevating that, and those strategies, I'm bringing them back to my clients. So it's this constant, beautiful world of I learn, I give back, I learn.
So what type of purchases are these investors making? Are we buying distressed houses and fixing them up? Are we just buying cash flow and rentals? What is your typical investor that you represent buy?
Well, and that's another thing, right? So it's a great question, because it leads into the intake form that I use, right? Because if it's a home buyer, you have certain questions that you're asking. If you're an investor, you're asking the investor questions like exactly what you asked. Are you looking for single family homes? Are you looking for multi-units? Are you looking for 5+ multi-units? What areas are you looking in? What's your growth strategy? What's your risk tolerance? Do you care about cap rates or cash on cash return or cash flow? Those investors have been thinking about that. So that's what I love. I have to first define what they're looking for, help them hone their strategy, and come up with ways to figure out how to execute on that strategy. So I have all types. I have investors who only buy single family houses, and they'll tell you exactly why. Right. And I'm like, why are you only focusing on those? And they're like, here's why. And I can tell you all those reasons. Right. And then I have it's like, nope, 5+. And here's why. Other investors, 1 through 4s. Here's why. So I love that. I have to drill down and to figure out what they want first, and then design the plan around that. But then how to evolve that plan? How does it evolve moving forward?
Awesome. What are you seeing in the current market with the rising interest rates? How are your investors reacting? How are your regular buyers reacting? How are your realtor peers and students reacting?
Yeah. So I just had a really great call this morning with my pod, actually talking about rising rates. Well, what we're seeing first is the short-term rental market being affected.
Sure.
So those numbers, the volume of vacancies for short-term rentals is rising a bit. It's ticking up. And there's some short-term rental buyers who bought at premium prices, spend $1 million, let's say, in a certain region. And you're like, that's a pretty big purchase, because they ran all their numbers. Something that I've been advising to my clients, if you want that to be a short-term rental, make sure it works on a long-term rental.
Long-term rental, yeah.
Right? Run all your numbers. So what's my favorite saying? If the numbers work, buy it. So I send them a very simple Excel spreadsheet that I use to calculate numbers. And we just run through a couple things. We plug in different things. If the rent goes up, if the rent stays stabilized, if you add gas, if you add this utility, if you increase this garage price, if you charge for this, we just run through these numbers to figure out what's the best price to make an offer at that you're, stabilized for a while, but also cash flowing, or whatever your, cash on cash return, whatever you're trying to get to. We want to run those numbers for you and make sure that they work for you. And so, like I said, if we buy it right, then the numbers are only going to go up from here. They might drop. We're coming. We know we're coming. We see the numbers are going to change. We see that, the foreclosure market, and that's coming. It's all coming with what the feds are doing, with the interest rates continuing to go up. I say the same thing to my investors. So if the numbers work at this interest rate, 7%, let's say, right? So we used to be at 4 and 5. Now we're at 6 and 7. So if the numbers work, what do I say? Buy it. Because as soon as those rates drop, what are you going to do? Refinance it. You're going to call me up and say, hey, I just refied. Thank you very much. And now that cash flow number just went up $200 a month, or $300 or 1,000, because you just refinance that property. So I'm going to say the same thing, where don't shy away from buying something. Yeah, I think things are going to go on sale, But I'm a firm believer in real estate continues to go up, even if it's not going up as much as something else in your portfolio. Maybe you did buy at a time right before the numbers started going down. If those numbers work now, they're still going to work in 5 or 10 years. And it's still something that you can utilize as cash flow. Does that make sense? Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Sure. That answered my question in regards to short-term rentals, which I think I don't know how more people didn't kind of see that coming. Everybody got so seduced by the short-term rental thing. And then there was a lot of rhetoric around the recession resistancy of it, right? Because everybody was like, well, people don't go to Europe during a recession, but they'll still drive to Florida, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm like you. I never ended up buying any short-term rentals. I looked. Honestly, by the time I was looking, I couldn't afford them. Like I went to the beach and a few months ago, and so I went to a small local bank. I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting a beach house." And just based off of this, you can go grab one for $600,000-700,000. I was like, "All right, cool." And I get over there, and it was Alabama. It wasn't even Florida, and you could not get a beach house you couldn't get a 1-bedroom on the wrong side of the road for $600,000 or $700,000.
Wow.
Anything decent was $1 million, plus. And it was just, like you said, the peak of the market, and it would in no way work as a long-term rental. So I just I was like, well, I never say this because since I started investing, people were saying, "Oh, it was about to crash. Wait until it crashes to buy stuff." And if that were people have been telling me that since 2016. And if that were the case, I wouldn't have bought all that I did. But when I saw those numbers on the Airbnbs, I was like, so, I think I might just have to wait till it crashes to pick up some of those. But what about other? Are your investors flipping houses? Are your investors buying long-term rentals, or are your investors finding themselves in situations where their exit strategy is impaired? I mean, you mentioned, yourself losing some money, and we've all lost money, but I bought flips 6 months ago that I'm going to sell, and they're not selling for as much as they were going to sell when I bought them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Same
and
thing.
We're feeling it. And I'm just like, are y'all seeing that up there?
Definitely. So same thing. I had an investor purchase a property, did a really nice renovation on it. And I just dropped it $75,000, right? Thankfully, a big margin in there. So he's still going to walk away. I know it's not under contract yet, but I think we should be able to sell it.
And that's where I am. I'm not dying or anything, but if the market would have held like it was in February, we would just be, we'd be making an absolute killing.
Yeah.
But with the contraction, like, we're just doing all right,
That's what we're seeing. So, the flip market hasn't been that great for the last year, let's say. I found one that I missed that a wholesaler sent me over that he just mispriced. So that's what usually happens. It's either a realtor who doesn't know what they're doing, misprices a property, or a wholesaler doesn't know he's out of town. He misprices it. And then you're like, oh, there's a deal, right? So you just have to watch for those. Those you can still turn around and flip, but people are getting very savvy to that market too. So I'm watching buyers be very picky in the residential space when they go to buy a flip, because they're watching all these, they're watching all these TV shows. So they're looking for certain, their expectations have gone up.
Well, and sellers, what I was just on a call about this before we got on, and what I'm waiting for and what seems to take longer is for the sellers to realize what the buyers already know. Like, the buyers already know where we're at in the market, but the sellers still feel like it's late 2021.
Sellers are always behind, right? They're always behind.
And so when the sellers catch up to reality, I think that's where the deals are going to be, because you're right. The market's been on fire for the last couple of years from a sales perspective, but it almost hasn't been a great flipping environment because the sellers knew it was on fire and they're charging extra and short, squeezing the spread.
Absolutely. I always say to people when this comes to selling a house, I say, do you want to sell your house or do you want to list it? Because the price you're at is a listing price. We need to be this much lower in order to sell it. So it's your choice. I can list it, but if you want to sell it, we got to adjust that price. I think that as we come in, that's what I really like about, working with investors and focusing on investment properties is you're really recession proof. In any market, seller's market or buyer's market, I'm still working, right? When it comes to buyer's market and everything starts to be super low, then it's negotiation and strategy in a different way. When I'm in a seller's market, I'm negotiating and strategizing in a way I do something very differently that I know most realtors don't do when it comes to making offers and to listing properties. Like I'll call every single buyer's agent and I'll give them the marketing spiel that I use for everybody else because they don't know, right? You have this buyer walking up to a property. They're just going by what they see and they might not be that experienced. So I'll call them up and say, hey, just to give you a couple pointers on this property to really help you sound so great with your client. Your client's going to love you for this. And I lay out like talking points for them. So I'm selling my listing and helping out my seller by educating the buyer and giving them ammunition to be able to sell that property. I don't know many people who do that.
Awesome. Is there any other shifts in your business you're making because of the way the market's reacting?
Yeah, I mean, it's just trying to get all the cash back in the accounts, really, because it's coming, right? So I bought 11 properties last year and renovated and refinanced. I renovated 7 or 8 and refinanced almost all. I refinanced them all. So it was to hold. It was a lot of activity on that side. Took some time. So I'm a little bit more leveraged in a couple properties that I didn't get, that I had some issues with in construction on 2 of them, kind of messed up my cash coming back strategy. So that's what I'm doing right now is focusing on just paying everything down to get that cash back in, to be able to just, here's cash down in order to be able to move on what's coming.
Right. Absolutely. Was there anything that you would do differently if you could start over again?
Yes. The biggest difference that I made, I would say, so I started my renovation company, lost a bunch of money, became a realtor, how to figure out how to be a realtor in this market and to have a successful business model. And then I took a class called Financial Mastery. So Tony Robbins teaches a financial mastery class. One of our owners, Bob,
he wrote a book called Financial Mastery, didn't he?
Tony, I'm not sure if he wrote a book exactly.
I'm pretty sure I read a book called Financial Mastery by Tony Robbins.
Yeah, that's a good question because I've taken his business mastery course, his Unleash the Power Within, Date with Destiny, but he has a financial mastery course. And one of the owners of our brokerage, they have like 15 or 16 brokerages in the area. He was a Tony Robbins trainer also. So he scaled down this course and taught it to us for like $100. And I took it 6 times.
It's Money Master the Game.
Yeah, Money Master Game. I've read that. I have that sitting there. That's a very stock market approach kind of book.
Right.
Money Master.
Right.
But so he taught this financial mastery course and I took it 6 times. And I thought, my God, if I had taken this course and then started my my business being a real estate investor and then being a realtor, really it's about education. And that's why I've created a course, because I see the value of education. I see the value of understanding business and really mastering financial mastery. Just, really understanding financial mastery is going to, shortcut you to success of understanding profit and gross revenue versus net revenue and your profit and loss statements and your balance sheets, and really having more of a business owner's mindset around the financial piece. That's what I would have done differently.
Sure.
But I learned so much along the way. I wouldn't know how to do construction unless I had to fire those 2 guys. I wouldn't understand. I wouldn't be able to walk up a house and look at it and analyze it the way I can. And then what the best part is, I can teach my investor how to analyze that property in about 15 minutes. They walk like 5 properties with me and they get it. Like, where's your pad? We're taking this down. See that chimney? See that gutter? Look at the windows. Here's what you're looking for, Here's where the coming in. Here's how we fix this. right? So I just teach them that so that they can learn how to do it. And then it's just, that's my favorite part, is teaching people.
Awesome. So I want to hop over to our radio round to help our listeners get to know you a little bit better. So it just got 3 quick questions. The first one is, what is your favorite book?
So favorite's difficult to define. I probably have 10 that I'm reading right now that I read them and then I pick them up and read for another 15 or 20 minutes in the morning while I'm having coffee. So I'm loving Dan Sullivan right now. Up in the Gain, Who Not How, 2 really, really great books. I'm reading Keith Cunningham's The Road Less Stupid. He's a Tony Robbins mastery coach. That's really good. But if I had to pick an all-time favorite, like the one I've read probably twice, I don't know. I always get something out of Rich Dad Poor Dad every time I read it. And The Richest Man in Babylon, I'm a firm believer. When I taught basketball to my daughter and her teammates, it was the basics over and over and over again. It's the John Wooden approach. Oh, The Talent Code, great book by Daniel Coyle, talks about John Wooden's process of practice. Like, you can create talent. Talent's not born, it's created, and it's repetition and it's mastery and it's skill. So I'm a basics person. So go back to the basics and just know it. And those books take me back to the basics.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. I remember that from wrestling growing up. It was like, no, we're going to practice the single leg 800 times.
It's the Karate Kid, right? Hang up the coat, hang up the coat. Right. And that move becomes his signature move in order for the foundation of karate, right? So.
Yeah. What's your favorite quote?
So I have little stickies on my on my computer just to remind me of certain things. The word persistence is up there all the time. But the quote that I've been grabbing onto lately is choose what to focus on. So it's a Tony Robbins quote, decide what to focus on. So every day I get a choice of deciding what to focus on. Do I want to decide to focus on all the negativity and everything that's going on in my world? And, oh my gosh, there's not enough cash flow coming in. Or do I want to decide to focus on the positive aspects of what I'm learning that day from that experience? And how do I apply that? And so how to make my business better? How do I make my life better? Do I want to decide to focus on one thing that day and crush it? Or do I want to be scattered and just be pulled in different directions where I'm not getting anything done and spin my wheels? So it's my biggest quote is decide what to focus on. And that brings me back to center.
What's your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
I work a lot. Like I love working, right? So that's fun too. I love looking at houses and going to see different houses, and I look at the architecture when I'm driving along. I did happen to buy myself a toy, which is a convertible BMW. So I've been riding along with that, my red leather seats, and I'm outside. I love being outside. Like, that's my favorite thing ever. So to be able to drive clouds, blue sky, and to be looking at what's around me and to really take in all of nature and God's beauty. And, the fact that I can see people better on the street, somebody's helping somebody else. It's about humanity. I just love to experience people and nature in all forms, whether it's hiking and the ocean, man. The ocean makes my soul sing. So
awesome. Tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you and find your course and get you to sell them a house. And and behind me or on my screen, my company name is Pure Light Reinvest. So you can sign up for my course at investment-realtor.com. That course teaches realtors how to be investment realtors. And then that little certification at the top, it's investment realtor certification that you receive when you're done with the course. And then you get invited into a mastermind group. And that's, something that I'm really passionate about right now, is really building that community and to teach other people. So you can always find me at Lenore Mohr, Lenore.Mohr at purelightgroup.com is my email. And
I'm just available. I'm available for people to reach out. You can find my contact information on the web if you search my name, Lenore Mohr. And it's just something, if I can help you or have a great conversation, that just makes my day.
Awesome. Well, it was great meeting you, and I'm really glad we got to spend some time to get to know each other today. And I look forward to keeping up with you on your journey.
Me too, Sterling. I really appreciate your time today, and it was awesome to meet you. And good luck. Keep in touch.
This episode was brought to you by Crestworth Capital. If you're a busy professional and ready to make passive income from real estate investing, then go to crestworthcapital.com, where you'll be able to download a free copy of our ebook to help you get started today. Until next week, happy investing.